Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now it must have been almost a year ago that I purchased 22 untested graphics cards for just £99 and I intended to sell them all and try and make a profit. The first thing I did though was unbox them in a video and see which ones worked, which ones didn't. We had 21 out of 22, one of them as well I couldn't test, but I later confirmed that all of them except one of the HD 5450s it was worked perfectly, and so I was ready to sell them on. I just realised that after a comment left the other day I never updated you with the final figures, how much I made selling those cards, so I thought I'd talk about that today. This one's not going to have much gaming in it at all, if anything, but I thought we'd cover the financial side of things just to put your mind at rest if you've been curious about the money I made from the sale of those older and weaker GPUs. Now of course the profit margin was always going to be quite small. I fully anticipated this after unboxing the cards and finding that most of them were either GeForce 210s or 8400 GSs, but let's get into it and talk about the money side of things, how much I made, where I sold them and the total profit. Okay, so I've knocked up this little spreadsheet here, which should tell us all we need to know after going back and actually finding what I sold everything for over the last couple of days. So as you can see, we have the graphics card models on the left, the HD 4550, 3450, GTX 650, which was one of the better cards of the bunch. So was the R7 250, and I think the best was the Quadro P620, which someone said was like the equivalent of an old GTX 1052 gig. We also got some 8400 GSs, some GT 710s, GT 210s, HD 5450s, and that pesky Fire Pro with its awkward connector. Let's talk about how much we sold them for then, what we actually got after fees, and where I sold them. So the HD 4550 sold on the Facebook Marketplace for £8, no fees there because Facebook Marketplace is free. I no longer have Facebook, I just found a lot of people who said they wanted something either didn't turn up or you'd message them or they'd message you and you'd never hear from them again. So I got rid of Facebook last year, one of the best things I've ever done actually. HD 3450, £5 sold on Facebook. After fees, of course, no fees, so £5 made there. Now, the GTX 650, one of the better cards, I sold for £24.99. Now, I also sold these last year, so bear in mind prices were a little bit higher as well. And this was during a promotional 80% off selling fees weekend, which is something that eBay sometimes offer me. I think they offer it to many people actually, just maybe if you sell a lot, I'm not exactly sure. But after fees, this brought things down to $24.05, so not really much taken from eBay in this case. The same can be said for the R7 250, which I sold for $24.99 and netted the same amount of $24.05 on eBay. The Quadro P620, I sold this for a nice sum of £69, but unfortunately I didn't list this during a promotional weekend, so they took quite a lot of money here and I was left with $59.87. Still not bad considering this is more than half the cost of the entire GPU bundle, so that untested Quadro P620 being in there, which of course worked, really did save the day a little bit. The 8400 GS, one of them, never sold it. That goes for the next two as well. Never sold these cards. I listed them on eBay, no one wanted them. I listed them on Facebook Marketplace and no one wanted them. So yeah, I mean, I just ended up keeping them and they came in handy for testing some old Optiplexes. They are still around somewhere, probably in a box under the bed. One of the GT 710s I sold on another promotional weekend for $17.99 and kept $17.23, but the other one I sold for the same price. I listed, I think, the day before the promotional weekend started, not realising, and I ended up with just £15.39. Another one of the 710s I didn't sell, I've still got it. The fan, the plastic shroud bit of the fan is actually cracked, so I decided to not sell it because I didn't want to sell something that wasn't quite up to what I'd call a respectable standard sort of thing. So I kept it and I think it will make for some funny future videos as games get more and more demanding and we can see just how well it does. One of the GeForce 210s surprisingly sold for $14.99. After fees this netted us $12.77 and the other GeForce 210, one of the other ones, unfortunately I didn't sell. Same sort of situation as the 8400 GSs. And I think I just got lucky selling that first one for 15 quid, because the second one, well, no hope. But again, like one of the 710s, I decided to keep it simply for the fact that it's quite funny to fire up every so often and see how well it does in games, because the answer is not very well. One of the HD 5450s sold for $10.99, again during a promotional weekend, so I got $10.41 for that. And the other card, as you know, as discussed in the original video, was broken and I couldn't fix this. Finally, the Fire Pro 2270 with that pesky DMS59 connector, I ended up selling to a local PC shop for £5. Should have let them have it for free really, but they offered me a fiver and I thought, yeah, why not? So that was that. The last lot of cards I sold in a bundle just to try and get rid of, which consisted of two 610s, two GeForce 210s, an 8400 GS, and another HD 5450. This was sold during another promotion, so £49 here sold price, and after fees we were left with $47.45. This was of course on eBay. So let's get into the grand totals, shall we, by scrolling down. Here we are. Now the total after selling everything was £247.94. Everything is of course in pounds today because that's the currency we use over here in the UK. The net after fees was £229.22. Could have been a bit better had it not been for that P620 selling during a non-promotional weekend, I think, which meant that after all of our fees and after the cost of the initial bundle of £99, we saw a profit of £130.22. After postage costs, which equated to £25.13, we netted £105.09 on everything we sold. And as you can see here, not everything did sell. I've still got a few of these cards lying about. Now, all in all, this doesn't sound like much, especially as it took me like 2 weeks to sell all the cards at the time. I think if I'd have managed to get rid of them over a couple of days, then this is not bad at all. But as I said at the start, profit margins were always going to be small, and there was a pretty high risk in this whole thing to begin with because I didn't know that any of the cards worked or if they worked. So I think to make this much from what was a huge risk, well, it really isn't bad, but it's certainly not a way to try and make a living, that's for sure. Unless you're working with larger profit margins, or you can guarantee the cards are going to work, or you buy more untested cards and try and sell them within a short space of time. This isn't the best way to go about things. I think the better way to sort of make money from used GPUs would be to either buy them, clean them up, sell them on in sort of peak condition, or if you've got the know-how, buy broken cards and then fix them properly. I'm not just talking about the heat gun method, but actually take time into learning how to fix graphics cards, sell them on that way. Or alternatively, you could just put together PC builds as well and sell those on. I think it's a nice sort of side gig in a way, but you'd have to do things on quite a large scale to make it a sort of full-time income. But for a bundle of 22 cards that took me a couple of weeks to sell, yeah, this isn't exactly the biggest profit in the world, but money I wouldn't have had if I hadn't have bought them, and I also got a pretty entertaining video out of it. I hope you found it interesting or helpful nonetheless. Of course, if you did, leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one, where hopefully we won't be just staring at a spreadsheet.